Want to call to order the November 7th, 2017 meeting of the Utilities Committee of Century Parish. Will everyone please stand for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Name is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we ask that you send down your blessings on the people of Ascension and keep everyone safe. Lord, once again we ask that everyone look to our neighbors, look to the elderly, look to those that need. We're quickly moving into the colder weather months, and they got those that need help. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we pledge allegiance to the flag, I want to send out a thank you to everyone, every veteran, every family that has veterans. Thank you very much for all you do, that we may live in America and live free and do the things we do. We'll move right along to chair's additions. We have one addition tonight. The chair would request the committee to approve to put on the agenda a revision to the contract with Rodell Parsons for legal services for our utilities negotiations.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sadley. Any opposition? So moved. We'll move that to agenda item number 6A. Public comments. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please come forward to the chair and we'll let you speak on that when that agenda item comes up. We'll move right along to agenda item number 5, change order number 3, CWEF project installation of chloramine booster stations, Palo Alto and Lemonville, ICE sales and services to add 17 days to the contract, no change to the contract amount. Carl?
What you have is this contract. It's mostly a housekeeping item to completely close the contract out. There was a gap coordinating the final inspection meeting with the inspectors and the engineers, and it took a couple of weeks, and that's just to add the to the end of the contract. And the stations are in place. They're not operational. They are operational, but Assumption is doing a chlorine. They switched to free chlorine for a month, for 8 weeks, and it hasn't brought down our residuals any, so we haven't really need to kick that one in yet.
Thank you, sir.
Any
Chair would
questions?
entertain a motion.
Motion, but I got questions.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Joseph.
I'll second that so we can hear
Second by Mr.
discussion.
Sadley for discussion. Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, and one of the question I have is when this may, you pretty much has answered that question, is waiting after Assumption do they burn. My question is, with Assumption doing their burn, and we have to do the flushing on our end, we're eating that cost too now? They're not giving us any break or anything on that? That's their burn. I mean, when it came to us and it was our burn, yes, it was our flushing. I mean, that should have been, discussed a little bit ahead. We knew they was going to be doing the flushing, so I mean, we didn't think of that. We didn't even entertain anything on that. I mean, because how long we'll be flushing for that system? What? How many weeks?
We were actually only notified, I think, 4 days before they started the burn.
Wow.
And it wasn't a burn. They just switched to free chlorine for a period. And it's actually not hurt our residuals because our residuals hadn't been up. So we actually hadn't had as much flushing during this period.
All right. Okay, well, that's my
Yeah,
biggest
right.
concern. I mean, you know, when you say burn, that means you flushing water.
Right.
So, all right, that's understandable on that. And, so as soon as we can get off of them, you know, we can start using our own water.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Mr. Satterlee,
Yeah, that was one of my questions, but thank you, Jay. Well, the other one is, just for the record, so, Mr. Carl, this is just asking for an extension of the contract for 17 days. There's no money involved there.
Right, no money at all.
Thank you.
any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to Parish Utilities Report. Report of Parish Utilities of Ascension. Mr. William Daniels.
I think y'all have the, good evening, Councilman. I think y'all have the report in front of you. I went ahead and left this report in this format for this time because you're used to seeing it, but I don't know if you're going to see it like this anymore.
Well, this is our second time seeing it, Mr. Daniel, so we had questioned the first one, but it
Yeah,
was more
I've
than we
got
had
que-
before.
I've got quite a few questions about the way this is being prepared, so it may come back in a form similar to this, or it may come back completely different, but we're taking a fairly close look at it. I can say that I've identified some numerous issues, including maybe the way this report is compiled and some of the numbers in it, and so we're going to be taking steps over the next few weeks and maybe longer to try and make this report and the entire system more efficient. We've already started a revised flushing procedure, so we hope to be using less flushing water. I'm concerned about the water loss, as you might imagine if you were looking at this report. So we're going to try to take some steps to figure out where that's going. We're going to try to measure the pressure at different places in the system to see if we can determine where the water is leaking. If it is leaking, we're going to go back through and reread all the meters, because perhaps one of our bigger users is using more water than we think. So we're going to try to narrow down this. We're going to have a couple of staff meetings to make sure that everybody on board understands how we're going to work on this in the future. I'm concerned that not everybody understands how important and professional we need to behave in terms of supplying water to the citizens. So the report sort of speaks for itself, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have in regard to that, if I can.
Mr. Joseph.
Welcome aboard, Mr.
Thank you, Councilman.
Welcome aboard. As you say, this report, I mean, the biggest thing you write with the water law, but some of the other things is customers on this report. My concern is how many new customers sign up, how many customers that we was cutting off. You know, those numbers are very important to see where our accuracy and, you know, what we need to do with public relations to get the bills paid on time and all stuff like that.
I requested that information, and I didn't get it. That's why we're going to have the staff meeting.
Okay, so that's one of the concerns, to make this report more identified to us of how we are making money and where we're losing money at. The other one is fire hydrants. Okay, how many of them are usable and the one that need to be repaired, you know? Because I ride around and I see some missing, you know? So I'd like to know how many need to be back to order.
When you drive by one missing, will you call me?
Oh, yes, no problem. I'll start.
225?
Oh, no, I got your number over
Okay.
there. That's easy for me. So those are things that, you know, And you are identifying some of the biggest using industrial companies. I think they are getting free water in my mind.
Well, it's hard to put 9 million gallons of water laying on the ground somewhere.
Right.
More than that.
You know.
Right. Well, 17 million gallons of water are laying on the ground somewhere.
And the only other question is, it's just one of them in my mind that we took acquisition of this company and we never, ever evaluated or reconciled every house and to know the accurate number. All we know is what we bill and what People Water Company gave us. But
Which wasn't much, as I can ascertain.
well, you know, we own it now, and I would just like us to make it a Class A water facility.
That's certainly my goal, Councilman, and what I mean wasn't much. They didn't give us much information.
No, we know that. So that's
So-
one of the biggest thing is if you can get that one of the biggest thing is to make sure that we are charging the right amount of customers, you know, that we're charging everyone who's getting water from us.
That's a problem utility-wide, I can tell you that.
All utilities.
So, well, if we can keep that number under 10%, then, I mean, that'd be great. But we don't even know what that percentage is right now.
You're talking about
The
the
customer use, how many actually customers we have that we took over.
I will get that number as quickly as possible. That's one of the top priority items on my list.
All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sadler.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You've already said a lot of things that are intriguing to me, and I have appreciation for, and would just encourage you to deliver on what you said. Specifically, you're not sure how professional that we need to be or be acting to serve the citizens. And when it comes to PUA, I concur, sir. I too am concerned about the water loss. We won't beat that dead horse any further. And I encourage you, as you've already said, to get to the bottom of that ASAP. Other issues that Doc Sadley has and has been asking for, and I'm going to start from the beginning. Handing out this, or even, as you said, it's going to be in a different format, looking forward to that as well in the future, at the meeting is unacceptable. I mean, we just need to have the stuff, complained about it before, not just in this committee, others ahead of time, so that we can study it and come up with reasonable, legitimate questions and concerns, not being given out at the meeting. So please, sir, try to work with the people you have to work with, and get this to us ahead of time. Most committees put this stuff on Novus. I see no reason why we can't, not just the agenda, but all the package information we need. We've covered the different format issue you talked about. Another concern from Doc Sadley on this committee is I've been asking Mr. Joseph as well, and several times to get a monthly catch-up report on cost of services. I still don't see it. I do see this consumption report, and then on the last page, for a minute, I think maybe OJ and I both thought we had it, but I see it's monthly water loss. But I'm talking about not a lumped number. We're not going to maybe get into the nuts and bolts here, but I do see what is being cost per 1,000 gallons of $2.92 for just the month of September. And then for the months of January 1st through September 30th inclusive, $2.92 and $3.45 respectively. Both of those numbers, by the way, run up a flag to me because we have been told repeatedly, this committee has, by our interim director anyway, before you came on board, that we can buy from Assumption water for $2.40 a gallon. So if it's costing us $2.90 and for the month of September, or maybe overall for many months, $3.45, what's going on with that?
So this is the cost of making, distributing, and administering the water.
Right. Last time we didn't have distributing and administering. We just had making.
Okay,
That's right.
so this is the total cost of
Business.
business.
And
So
we-
if you
and-
could buy it for
So
how
the
much did you
genie's
say?
out of the bottle. We're losing, according to this report, what, 100? Water production expenditures for the months inclusive from January 1 to 17th, 1.278. I guess that's $1 million. Water revenues was 1.180. So we lost, is that correct, $100,000 in? that
I'm still
carry
trying to verify the accuracy of those numbers.
Well, let's just do it that way. Let's be sure that we even know what's going on. Okay?
But I will say, I think that there is a loss associated with the operation of the business unit. But I'm still trying to identify all the numbers, and I've gone over the budgets, and there's some expenses that need to be reclassified, and so I'm working on that as well.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And final question, and this one's real important to me, and I know it is to everyone else. Have you been able to ascertain yet, and I know you're very new on the job, so there's no real good answer here. Do we have appropriately certified operators within the PUA to be satisfying state requirements for us to be distributing this water to the public to drink?
So we have entered into an agreement with the state regarding our certification, that we would have everybody certified by the end of this month or early December, and we are on target to meet that.
Okay. Are we going to have some new hires to do that?
No, sir. We have, we are retraining, we are recertifying and stepping up in certification some of the employees, and we have there was an operator we hired from Kentucky who had the highest rating, but he allowed his Kentucky rating to lapse, so he is going back to Kentucky. He is going to regain his rating, and then with reciprocity with the state of Louisiana, they're going to grant that. But that takes a little time, and it should be sometime at the end of this month or early next month.
So these operators that we have board that are going to be trained to try to up their certifications, are we going to be paying them more money once they achieve the same?
I have not looked at that scenario.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bill Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. I'm kind of trying to make the numbers match up here, and can you tell me the difference between, so we have 11.8 million gallons that we say we lost in flushing or leaks, and then you got non-revenue unaccounted for at 9.4. What's the difference between those two?
Well, so that's an excellent question, and one that I spent a lot of time discussing with my staff today. Those leaks / main breaks are leaks that were identified and fixed. So they estimated the amount of water from those identified leaks. The 9 million is sort of unidentified water loss, either through sales that are unaccounted for or leaks somewhere in the line. I will say that I could make the numbers go either direction, whichever you would prefer.
I'd like to see the leaks go down.
Well, I can make the leaks and main breaks a higher number and the unaccounted for
Right.
water a lower number, or vice versa, because it's all an
It's
estimate.
a loss.
And I'm not sure how good the estimate is for leaks and main breaks. So, but I would just say that overall, there's 18 million gallons of water that are unaccounted for, and we're gonna account for them in the future.
About like 21 million.
Big numbers. Big
Well, I'm counting just the leaks and main breaks. Some of those are operational and processes. I think we can do less filter backwashing. The staff has apprised me that they are working on a plan to do that. I have yet to review it, but I will do so in the next couple of days. They have some procedures where they say that that is going to be reduced. And then we're going to look at some of the other issues, but I say that there is certainly about, 18 or 19 million gallons that are unaccounted for.
So significant number, no matter what it actually is.
It is a very significant number, and I find it hard to believe that that's a leak.
Yeah.
Surely someone would notice 19 million gallons of water somewhere, or even in several different places.
So if I just roughly do that, I mean, about 40% of our production is going somewhere that we don't know where it's going. It's not going to people that are paying for it.
Well, we know where those leaks, the leaks in main breaks, we know those are real. I'm just not
Okay.
sure
Of the quantity.
if the quantity is real.
Uh-huh. But still, we've got 40% of our production is not being paid, we're not getting reimbursed for.
Correct. That
Oh.
is an accurate statement.
So, I would hope that if we could get that narrowed down some, then we could also, see the monetary losses decrease. But also, we had talked about, some about equalization of rates. And, Councilman Joseph and I have been to several sessions on that. And, however, I was just curious as to, where we were, what the progress on that was. So we've got, obviously ACUD 2 and parish utilities, and we have different rates for both of them. And in some cases, we have, ACUD 1. And we have, lines that are side by side, and people are paying different amounts.
I'm aware of that, and I'm
Yeah, I got you.
I'm a little overwhelmed by the water company, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
It's a handful.
So we're going to try to get you some help. Hopefully you can get some help, but,
I've
and I think you have the right approach is first, let's try to account for the unaccounted for. But then, I guess, we would also, or myself and Mr. Joseph would like to see some equalization of the rates for, all the customers on the west side.
And I think that's a great goal, and I will certainly put it on my list of priorities.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Dane,
Sir,
ACU one, okay, we have this report, and it's only PUA.
yes, sir.
Okay, but the other thing, have you looked at basically the same thing with ACUD 1 water loss, flushing, and stuff like that is actually where we at feasibility and comparing that we can do something better in-house than buying water. Past history showing that we're losing money there, and I like to really have it analyzed by someone who's a professional in utilities. And I'm hoping you can help me out with that.
I think you may have one at the podium.
Well, I'm not going to claim that, but I will tell you what, I will get you an answer.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hate to be a wart, Mr. Daniel. Does the parish utilities of Ascension, the PUA, receive revenues from St. James for these, I see on the first page, gallons sent to St. James?
Worded wrong, Doc. That's worded wrong, Doc.
8 million gallons. Do we have an agreement with St. James for that?
That
If
that
so,
doesn't actually go to St. James,
No,
that goes
no.
to ACUD.
it goes to
1.
ACUD. Okay,
Yes,
to
Right,
be
it
clear.
goes for the jail, Lemonville, and I think we made a statement that say we need to change that
Yes,
from St. James to
Yeah,
Lemonville.
yeah, that's
Right.
where I was headed.
I'm sorry, Doc.
That's okay.
No,
Since
that was the first question I asked, why are we
OJ has
giving
asked for that
water?
change, and we
then
still
they
haven't
said,
even
no,
gotten
it's
that
really
change,
AC.
and you inherited that mess, just so that you're knowledgeable of it, and maybe we'll get it fixed next time.
Like I say, I do not believe this report will come to you in this fashion again. it may be similar, but it's certainly going to have some structural changes.
Thank you, sir.
We do get comments.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ken Dawson.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One second.
Just real quick on some of the training and the operators, okay? LDH requires that operators have a level 3 in treatment, but there are 3 classifications. You can have treatment, production, and distribution, okay? So in order to be at the plant, you have to have a level 3 in treatment. We have several operators that have the level 3 in treatment. Some were very close to finish. We have one that's finalizing his this week, I think, is at a training right now that's finalizing it. So what we wanted to do with LDH is to make sure that we had all these people available through either assistance with TMB to have a level 3 on call when we needed them, and as well as distributing the current staff that had the level 3s to be available to kind of take care of the scheduling so that we have the proper personnel in place. We work with LDH to make sure that happens. They are working with us to make sure that we have all people that are qualified. We lost a person. We had a level 4 that left the parish.
Right.
So, you know, and think about this, gentlemen. You have a need for a skill set that is highly sought after, okay? I was talking to New Orleans when Cedric Grant was there, who has a bigger budget and a bigger system and all that, and he was telling me about the difficulties that he had in trying to maintain operators and classified operators. We've done pretty good in keeping the ones that we have. We have some people that have been in the system that have been training up. I mean, they have done a good job on their own effort of taking the test, making sure they're studied. They've been passing the test. They've shown a lot of initiatives, plus while working, and plus while providing very quality water. I think last time we were here, there was a report by TMB to talk about the high-quality water that you were getting from over there. We know we have some things we have to work on, but the most important thing is to make sure that the quality water going to the public meet the standards. And they have been able to meet that, along with training, along with increasing their classifications. As Mr. Daniel said, we hired about 3 or 4 months ago a gentleman that moved into the parish that was from Kentucky, and he's going back to get his requals in Kentucky, which is a reciprocal relationship with Louisiana. So once he gets the requals in Kentucky, he automatically qualifies as a level 4 in Louisiana. So I just wanted to make everyone understand that it has been a lot going into training with these guys. They have submitted themselves to it, committed themselves to it. And even though they may have been getting level 3s in production and distribution, we have to make sure they had it in treatment. So we learned of that, and we're making sure that that's taken care of.
And I do concur
That brings
with
up
Mr.
another
Dawson.
question.
I do think the water quality is excellent, from what
Thank
I
you.
can tell.
Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, well, that brings up another question. Thanks, Ken. So, Mr. Daniel, do we have level 3s or above present at all times in the plant? And is that required by state law?
I do believe that level 3s are required at all times
Of
by state
operation?
law.
Right.
We don't have a level 3 at all times. We have a level 3 on call during certain time periods. We do have them.
Is that acceptable to the state, or are we in violation?
Well, we have an agreement with the state on the process for getting everybody trained by a certain time period.
I heard that, but why can't we just hire level 3s and 4s instead of spending time to train up in certification in-house?
Well, I think
But they don't
it's-
exist, or we
Well-
can't afford them, or what is the issue?
Well, I always think it's better to train your existing staff if they can do it, and apparently.
If the state's tolerant, yes, but if they're not,
Well,
They are.
we will have it.
You say
We'll have
no.
it in. We'll have it in 30 days.
In the meantime, we have an agreement with.
Right.
Yeah.
We have an agreement with the state. In fact, there is a meeting tomorrow morning.
so if some disaster, dreaded thought would have happened, and someone got sick, you know, we've heard the stories of the brain-eating amoebas and the fecal coliforms and other things, we would be covered because you're telling this committee that the state says we can train these people in-house, and we're gonna give you some time to do that.
Well, Councilman, let me just say that it's my understanding at this point in time that we have an agreement with the state. We are, without question, on track to get these operators trained with a proper certification.
Well, now, it's your understanding, but have you seen that agreement, Mr. Daniel?
I have seen the agreement, yes, sir,
Okay.
but would you like to weigh in on this?
Yeah, sure. Yes. We met with LDH, okay, in developing an agreement to get all the operators trained. And let me say this, it's not uncommon to have a situation where you have operators that are being trained up. LDH understands that it's difficult, that the difficulty of making sure you maintain all the operators, and they work with you in making sure you're getting your people trained up. So we worked out an agreement with them that by, I think, in the next 30 or so days, we will have all our operators trained. And in the meanwhile, they also allowed us to have certified operators on call. That's why we have an agreement with TMB, who has several, okay, level 3 or maybe even level 4s that are within an hour's distance, that if there's an issue that you can make the call. I mean, everything has been put in place to make sure that if there's an issue at that water plant, that you have personnel that will be able to respond quickly, give them the necessary information to mitigate any issue. I want to reiterate that I'm not going to say that what those operators have done over there has been substandard, because they took over, well, you know how the issue that happened prior to that. They have done a great job of maintaining high-quality water, and that's why TMB has been there doing analysis all the time to make sure that that standard is maintained. They've done a good job. So we are taking care of it, and I think that you would be pleased. And I also want to say that, again, these ladies and gentlemen over there have taken the ball and have worked hard to make sure they got the certification to be where they needed to be and to satisfy the requirements.
Thank you. Mr. Joseph?
Yes, and I just want to, I understand where Doc is coming from, because we know what we've had in the past, but since we have took over PUA, we haven't had any problem. And if I'm not mistaken, just recently we got another letter from the Board of Health saying that we was cleared of, I couldn't remember exactly all of it, but
Yes, right.
if you can just bring that up, because you
Yeah.
didn't bring that up tonight.
Yeah, well, it was, and I think that letter was applied to ACUD1 when we initially took over the system, and still we're talking about the same group of people, the same operators, where I think some of the chlorine residuals were not being reported as needed, and that was something that was done when the parish took operation of ACUD1. That has been cleared, because we have put people in place. We have a person who looks at strictly all of our compliance issues, making sure that everything is reported, communicate consistently with LDH, and is doing a great job. So that has been completely taken off the books, okay? I want to say also, we communicate with LDH on a consistent basis. I mean, if there is a potential issue, for instance, when Assumption was doing the burn, that was a call that we made to LDH to say, okay, what do we need to do since they're doing the burn? We want to make sure that we're proactive. And I got to give it to them. They have been doing a good job to make sure that we try to prevent being a reactive state. We've been very proactive about, in anything that needs to be done to make sure that quality is maintained.
Rick? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Satterley.
Mr. Daniel, can we bring someone from LDH in front of this committee so that I could better assess their comfort level with all this?
I can request.
I really would appreciate if you'd do that, maybe at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Utility committee meeting?
Yes, this committee.
Okay.
Well, William,
Sir?
Welcome aboard.
I would say welcome to the jungle, but it's not your first safari, sir. You've been in it for a long time, you're here for a reason, and that's why we hired you. I just want to recap what you said. You heard what everybody else said. I want to recap to everybody what you said, that this report is somewhat troubling to you, not necessarily alarming, but troubling, and that you're going to work to rework this report, make sure the clarification and all the numbers make sense.
And get it to you earlier.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
And you're looking at working with staff to revise the flushing procedure to make it most efficient on any kind of business with the least amount of loss. you're very concerned over the water loss, the numbers in the water loss. And I know that from your statements tonight, you can't quantify the difference between, what it is. You're just looking at the loss, and you will work on that, and that's going to take time, by the way. That's not nothing you're going to come back next week with.
I'm glad that you said that.
Well, I
Mr.
know,
Chairman.
I know it is.
I just gave him till the next meeting to
Not-
have
you
everything
know.
done.
I can make you a set of divining rods if you need. You work on, you're gonna work on, get the staff on board. Hey, you got a new sheriff in town, and just the expectations, we appreciate that, all right? You're gonna take a look at the users and quantify our users, and, we look at a small user with a large number and a large user with a small number, and, you've been around long enough to look at that, and you know what sticks out there to you. Reviewing all the staff's qualifications. I know the staff's been administration and staff's been working on that for a while, but that, doing things, being on the right side of the laws means a lot to us, so you're going to work on that. And working with the state, this is not the first time you've dealt with DHH, so
No, sir.
you're going to, I'm sure that we'll work with them till we get everything squared up. And it's not unusual for any municipality to have a third party. Any business that does not necessarily have the staffing requirements needed at the time, one of the quickest ways to solve a problem is to have a third party in until you fulfill your needs. So I'm not going to go over anything on this report. So we appreciate you being here, and we look forward to some, if nothing else, what we need as a governmental body. You've been on both sides of this podium in your life. We just need good information coming in front of us to make good decisions based on this is a business we're in right now, and we plan on staying in it. We need to get it right. We just don't have the ability to make a lot of money because it's a service to the people. And your original statement that the utility sometimes is a losing proposition as far as the overall business goes. Generally, for a municipality, it's not a money making. So I don't know how much we can balance the checkbook by being efficient, but it's not going to make a great deal of money. We just need to work on putting monies together and making sure that we have enough for our capital improvements, our ability to bond toward capital improvements, and for sure our maintenance programs, our O&M.
Well, and just to emphasize the point you made, you need good information to make good decisions. That's what I'm going to try to get, is good information so I can make good decisions, and I can bring to you information that you'll find relevant to this subject.
Once again, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll move on to agenda item number 6A, extension of Rodell Parsons' contract for $5,000. Mr. Dawson?
Yes. This was done during the P3 era. When we decided that we were not going to extend a contract that said P3, but that was another contract that Rodell Parsons was entering into that would do the utilities. However, our finance department has notified us that there was still a remainder on the old contract. In order to satisfy the payment, we have to just kind of extend that contract for the $5,000 to repay the remaining amount that was still unpaid doing that work so that we can close it out.
Thank you, sir. The chair would entertain a motion.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dawson. Any objection? Motion passes. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Got a second? We have a second. We are adjourned.